Have you ever walked into a place that seemed normal until it wasn't? A library where silence hides whispers, where the shelves remember your every secret, and where the books are watching you. Tonight, we're stepping inside 3 terrifying tales of libraries that know your secrets. Stories so real, so chilling, you'll start questioning every hidden corner around you. From books that write your past, to pages that predict your future, to entire libraries that feed on your fears. Get ready to face the darkness that knows you better than you know yourself. Are you brave enough to turn the first page? Story Part 1. They say libraries are silent places, but silence can be terrifying when it isn't empty. The first time I walked into the old Bennett Library, I didn't notice anything unusual. Just the smell of aged paper, the heavy wooden shelves, and the dim lighting that made everything feel smaller than it was. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt a presence, like someone or something was already watching me, waiting. I had come there on a rainy Thursday afternoon, looking for research material for my thesis. The rain had been relentless, drumming against the windows, making the streets outside look washed out and unreal. When I opened the door, a small bell tinkled, and the warmth of the room hit me, but it didn't wash away the cold prickle at the back of my neck. The library was almost empty, except for an elderly man at the front desk, whose eyes followed me unnervingly as I walked past. He didn't speak, just nodded, as though acknowledging some unspoken rule I had to follow. I ignored the feeling and moved deeper inside, wandering between the tall shelves. That's when I noticed it. Books that seemed out of place, not just old, but personalized. I picked one up at random. The cover was plain, unassuming, but as soon as I opened it, my heart skipped a beat. The first page had my name. Not just my name, but the details of my life. My childhood friends, the street I grew up on, my first kiss, even the secret I had never told anyone. I laughed nervously, assuming it was some kind of elaborate prank. But then, as I flipped through the pages, each one revealed more than I could have imagined. Every memory, every fear, every regret I had ever buried was written in ink, perfectly described. I dropped the book, my hands trembling. When I looked around, the library had changed, or maybe I had noticed it now. The shelves seemed taller, the aisles narrower, and every so often I thought I saw movement at the edge of my vision, a figure between the shelves, vanishing whenever I turned my head. I ran to the desk, demanding to know what was happening. These books, they know me, I stammered. The old man smiled faintly. We all know you, he said simply, and that was it. He didn't explain, didn't react to my panic. It was as if he had always known I would come here, and now it was too late to leave. I tried to put the book back, but it was gone from my hands. Then another book fell from a nearby shelf, open to a page about my most recent mistake, the one I had barely admitted to myself. Panic surged. I ran through the aisles, trying to find a way out, but every turn brought me to the same place, the center of the library, where a circle of books lay in a pattern I couldn't understand. Each book seemed alive, whispering in soft voices, names and confessions I had never shared with anyone. I stumbled back and bumped into a shelf. It shifted, as if it were breathing, and a narrow corridor opened where there had been only books. Compelled by fear, I walked through it. The walls were lined with pages, each one writing itself in real time as I moved past, recounting secrets I had thought no one could ever know. My hands were shaking, my mind racing, but I couldn't stop reading. It was as if the library itself wanted me to confess, wanted me to be trapped inside my own history. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, I couldn't tell. The sun outside had disappeared, replaced by the flickering light of an impossible dusk. And then I saw it, a book floating at the center of the corridor, open to a blank page. I approached, thinking it would be my salvation, my way to write my own story, to regain control. The moment I touched it, words began to appear. Not words from my life, not secrets I knew, but predictions. The book described my next hour, the exact steps I would take, the things I would feel, even the choices I thought I had made freely. It was all written before it happened. My stomach turned as I realized I had no control. The library wasn't just aware of my past. It was orchestrating my present, and maybe even my future. I ran toward the exit, ignoring the books that tried to grab me, with pages that wrapped like fingers. I burst through the doors into the rainy street, gasping for air. The library loomed behind me, dark and silent, as though nothing had happened. Shaking, I glanced back, but the doors were closed, the windows opaque, the building looking abandoned, like it had never been open at all. I thought I had escaped, but that night, when I returned home, there was a single book on my desk. Plain, unassuming, but familiar. My name was written on the cover in ink I had never seen before. I opened it. The first page said, "I hope you enjoyed your visit." And the rest of the book was blank, except for the final line, written slowly across the page as if by its own hand. "Tomorrow, we will continue where we left off." Story Part 2. The first time I heard about the Crowley Library, it was from a blog post titled, "A Library That Knows You Better Than Yourself." Most people laughed it off as an urban legend, but curiosity has a way of turning skepticism into obsession. I'm the kind of person who doesn't believe in ghosts, curses, or haunted places, yet somehow I found myself standing in front of that old, crumbling building on a foggy evening, the sign swinging gently in the wind. Crowley Library, Private Collection. The doors creaked as I entered. Inside, the air smelled of ink, mildew, and something faintly metallic. The place was unnervingly quiet, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. No one greeted me. The lights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows over the bookshelves. I had come for research on forgotten manuscripts, but something told me I wasn't here for normal reading. I walked slowly, trailing my fingers along the spines, when I noticed a small, leather-bound notebook lying on a shelf. I opened it instinctively and froze. The first page was blank, but as I stared, words began appearing. "You're nervous. You're wondering if anyone will notice that you lied on your resume last month." I laughed nervously, telling myself it was some kind of prank, some old magic trick. But the next pages were impossible. Every private thought I had carried for years, things I hadn't written down, hadn't told a soul, was there, in neat, careful handwriting. Memories I had buried were laid bare, from the embarrassing to the shameful. My stomach turned. I tried to put the notebook back, but it wouldn't leave my hands. A low whispering began, echoing between the shelves. "You can't hide. You've come here, but we've always known you would." My head snapped up. No one was there. Just the endless rows of books, all seeming to lean in slightly, as if the library itself were alive, waiting. I ran through the aisles, trying to escape, but each corridor led me deeper into the same shelves. Each book I touched began to open on its own, revealing page after page of my secrets. I stumbled across one with my childhood fears, the times I hid from my parents, the shame of my first crush, the guilt of my first lie. Another book had the story of my first heartbreak, written with a precision that felt impossible. Hours must have passed, though the light barely shifted. Every attempt to leave ended at the same place, a circular reading room at the heart of the library, where a single large book rested on a pedestal. Its cover was jet black, unmarked. I approached it with a mixture of dread and curiosity. The moment I touched it, the pages flipped open. This time, it wasn't my past. It was my future. It predicted my actions, my thoughts, the exact words I would speak. I realized the library didn't just know me, it controlled me. Panic rose in my chest. I tore myself away, but the room seemed to stretch, elongate, trapping me. Shadows whispered my failures, my secrets, my lies. Finally, in a desperate attempt, I ran to the front door. The old wooden doors slammed shut before I could touch them. The whispers crescendoed into a voice that sounded like mine. "You wanted to know yourself. Now you belong to us." I slammed my eyes shut. When I opened them, I was standing outside, the library silent and empty, appearing abandoned, as though nothing had ever happened. The fog swirled around me. Relieved, I hurried home. That night, a small package sat on my doorstep. Inside was a leather-bound notebook, the same one. On the cover, in handwriting that chilled me to the bone, was my name. I opened it, and the first line read, "You cannot escape what you are. We will always be waiting." And beneath that, the pages began to fill on their own, recording my every thought, every fear, every secret, even as I read it. Story Part 3. I never believed in haunted places, but the old Whitmore Library had a reputation that made even skeptics uneasy. It wasn't the creaking floors or the cobweb-covered corners that terrified people. It was the stories of books appearing on their own, of whispers echoing through the stacks, and of visitors leaving with their deepest secrets exposed. I didn't believe any of it until I went there myself. I arrived on a cloudy evening, the wind rattling the library doors as if warning me to stay away. Inside, the air smelled of dust, ink, and something faintly metallic. The librarian was nowhere to be seen, and the place was eerily silent. I wandered through the aisles, drawn to the smell of old paper and leather bindings, when I noticed a small, unmarked book lying on a high shelf. Curiosity got the better of me. I reached for it, and as I touched the cover, the pages flipped open. My name was on the first page. My hands froze. I thought it was a joke, but as I read on, my heart sank. The book described moments I had never told anyone. A betrayal in college, a lie I told my parents, private thoughts I didn't even write down. Everything. Panic gripped me. I tried to put the book back, but it clung to my hands as if it had a will of its own. Then I heard it, a whisper, soft and insistent. "We've been waiting for you." I spun around, but the library was empty. Just the rows of shelves, tall and oppressive, stretching farther than I remembered. I ran, searching for the exit, but the library had changed. The aisles twisted, leading me in circles. Every book I passed opened itself, revealing page after page of my life. My childhood secrets, my adult fears, my most private confessions, all written with perfect accuracy. Desperate, the first tried to scream, but no sound came. The books seemed to lean in, whispering, pressing their pages against me like fingers. Then I saw it, a grand ledger lying on a pedestal at the center of the library. Its pages were blank, but when I opened it, words began appearing, predicting my every move. I realized the library didn't just record secrets. It controlled them. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. I lost all sense of time. Then I understood. Every visitor had a story, but none ever truly left. They became part of the library, their secrets feeding it, their lives bound to its walls. I thought I could escape. I bolted for the front doors. They slammed shut before I could reach them. Shadows stretched and twisted, forming shapes of people I knew, whispering my failures and fears. My chest tightened. I was trapped. Then, a soft, almost gentle voice spoke directly into my mind. "Don't worry. You'll get used to it. Your secrets belong here now." I blinked and found myself outside, the library silent and still, as if it had never been open. The fog had thickened, hiding the street. Shaking, I returned home, trying to convince myself it had been a dream. At midnight, I awoke to a soft thud. A book was on my nightstand. Its cover was black, unmarked, except for my name. I opened it and froze. The first page read, "Welcome back. We've been expecting you." And beneath that, the pages began filling themselves, chronicling every thought I had in the last hour, every secret, every fear, every regret. I tried to close it, but the book didn't allow me. I was no longer just a visitor. I was part of it. The end.